We are talking about Daniel Heath Justice, Cherokee, who's now teaching up at UBC, University of British Columbia, and the book that he wrote that we are muddling through right now. I'm directing your attention to page 33. I'm going to do a teeny tiny, itty bitty bit of reading, but again, I don't often do this, and I don't like it when teachers stand up in front of class and read to their students. But never mind, we're going to stay focused, right? All right, here we go. Just a little bit. I'm just highlighting stuff, all right? All right. Although we are born into human bodies, it's our teachings and our stories that make us humans. Whatever our particular gifts or limitations, no matter how our specific biology influences our decisions and behaviors, our humanity is far greater than simple consequences of being born into the species Homo sapiens. The exchange of DNA is as much an accident of history as it is an act of will, and culture and kinship travel different, though often parallel currents. Our biology is only a very small part of our humanity. The rest is a process of becoming. And how do we become? One way is through our stories. This is especially crucial for tribal peoples like us. That's Native Americans, Native North Canadians, and even Native tribes from Mexico and down south, all points south. Let me read a little bit more to explain what we're talking about. We tend to like our metaphors, our analogies, and weathered old chestnuts, quick and easy examples, especially for this most elemental of questions. In the old nature versus nurture debate, we might think of nature as being the clay and nurture the act of sculpting. The medium of clay determines much of what can be achieved, but it's the care or negligence of the sculptor that has the greater influence. Now, keep thinking in terms of native storytellers and the old ones, the Kongxi, the old people who told stories. By the way, just an aside, in my tribe, we used to say, old people used to say, we want to tell our stories in the winter time when the snow falls. You don't do a whole lot of storytelling when it's summer and the birds are out singing. We wait till winter. That's the best time to tell a story. And if you violated that little cultural norm, you might end up with some frogs visiting you in your bed. Now, that's just what the old people say. I don't know what that's all about, but that's what they used to say. Let's get back to this, shall we? It says here, of course, this presumes that the clay itself has no further role to play than to simply be, and it also ignores the ways that moisture, light, temperature, and other environmental conditions can affect the process and the final result. So in the end of this hackneyed metaphor, like most, it falls short. Metaphors alone can't encompass what it means, what it is to be human, nor can lived experience. For that, we need stories. Ooh, I like that. For that, we need stories. Let's go back to our lesson plan. He is talking about how biology is only a small part of who we are. It's not enough to make us who we are. Metaphors that we tell ourselves is not enough to make us who we are. Erdrich, he quotes on page 36, he says that one of his really eloquent discussion of stories and books comes from one of my heroes, the author Louise Erdrich. I believe she is Anishinaabe from up north, somewhere in either Minnesota or North Dakota. Here we go. I'm going to read a little bit of what she says. Although the U.S.-based Ojibwe writer Louise Erdrich is rightly famous as a prolific award-winning novelist, It's her small nonfiction travelogue about writing and reading, books and islands in Ojibwe country that I like best. In part because it so beautifully articulates the profound human longing for stories that crosses space and time. In her book, Erdrich travels through northern Minnesota to the Great Lakes region and southern Ontario on a kind of memory quest, mapping Ojibwe writing through the land, the language, and history of her people. She notes that her own career is both a personal calling and a natural extension of the cultural values, gesturing even to one possible origin of the word Ojibwe itself. The meaning that I like best is, of course, that Ojibwe comes from the verb Ojibige, which means to write. Ojibwe people were great writers from way back and synthesized the oral and written tradition by keeping mnemonic scrolls of inscribed birch bark. By the way, anybody ever seen birch bark biting? That's something that they do up in Canada. It's where you take the birch bark and bite it and you turn it into art. And also it's kind of, you can use it for storytelling. And I'm messing it up by trying to explain it. Now, I'm getting boring. I got to get back to this. Erdrich punctuates each chapter with a refrain, books, why? And she offers different answers each time. I'm going to skip over this because I don't want to stand up here and read in front of you, bore you to death. But I'm going to turn to page 36, books, why? So I can talk to other humans without having to meet them. Books, why? Well, fear of boredom. Books, why? So that I will never be alone. Isn't that cool? And this is mostly the written word because, as we know, Louise Erdrich is a famous writer. But often in Native literature, there is not much of a line, or shall we say blurred line, between oral tradition and the written story. This is important for us as tribal peoples. We need to keep that in mind. This is why oftentimes I will stop and tell you stories, you're saying. And according to Daniel Heath Justice, these stories, especially when we're dealing with the little ones, help them and help us to remember and learn how to be human. Okay, got it. By the way, he also mentions on page 39, there's a Cherokee story, the origin of diseases. How are we doing on time? I bet you we're going to run out of time. 8 minutes and 32 seconds. Oh, doggone it. I thought I was going to get some work done. Well, we're going to stop here, and I'm going to pick it up in the next video. Thank you so much, and talk to you soon.